Hey everyone, it's Rahul and welcome to my YouTube channel. In the first episode today, I'm talking to Anshay Jain, who is the founder of The Good Food Pact, a blog that talks about Indian traditional cuisine. In this episode, we are going to discuss how to find your niche and how to create content that is Instagram worthy. I'm pretty sure that you are going to like this episode.
Anshay,
Hi Rahul, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay, so welcome to the first episode, Anshay. You're the first guest on my YouTube channel. I haven't even named my show. I haven't even named my channel. So probably you are the first one, first guest here on my show, and we are going to talk a lot about content and everything around it.
Yes, I have always been the first guest.
Agree, agree. Okay, so Anshay, I have already given your introduction to my audience right now. But what I want you to do is, I want you to tell me about how did you start your journey and what are you doing right now in the content creation and when it comes to food blogging.
So, hi guys, my name is Anshay and I am a part-time software engineer and a part-time food blogger. So, my
Okay.
blog name is The Good Food Pact. So, I just want to give you a brief history about how we derived this name. Uh, Myself and my friend Jay, we created this pact between ourselves that we would visit 2 restaurants per month and explore the food in and around Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
Once we were having our Christmas buffet at one of the restaurants in Mumbai, it is then that we decided that we should probably go public with our passion. So it is on the same day on Christmas 2016 that we decided that we should start a blog. So we
Okay.
initially started on Instagram, and slowly and gradually we moved to other social media platforms. And right now we are posting content on more than 5 social media platforms. So yeah,
Including a
it's been
proper blog
a
of yours.
yeah, obviously.
Perfect. It's been how many? 6 years? 5, 6 years?
Yeah, like 4 to 5 years, not six,
Four
but
to
yeah, four
five.
to five years. Yeah.
Yes. So, Anshay, a lot of people, when it comes to content, a lot of people, business owners, or somebody who is just plain digital content creator, struggle whenever it comes to creating content. And since right now we have so many platforms with us, be it Facebook, Instagram, your website, your YouTube channel, all of these things are there, and creating content for it is extremely difficult. I always recommend that you have your own niche identified first, so that once you start creating content around that niche, people will start knowing you, and everything else will follow. But finding that particular niche, finding what is your own voice or what is your style is extremely difficult. That is what I have experienced and I have seen people struggling with. Now I want you to tell me that how did you, like, how was the journey for you? How did you find your niche? Because I remember when we first contacted each other, I guess it was in 2017, 18. At that time, you were primarily into restaurant food, and you were, primarily into what do you say, go out and try out different foods. It was never homemade food or anything of that sort. And today when I see your account, today when I see your blog, a lot of recipes you create, a lot of recipes are regional, from your native place, and all of these, like, which are very like truly very Indian and very basic recipes that you make and all of that, right? And I see that these are getting popular also. So how was your journey, and how did you come from, restaurant food to, I guess, street food, and now Rajasthani, Marwadi, traditional Indian food? How was the journey?
That's a really great question, Rahul. It's been quite a eventful journey because we never we never really thought of experimenting with the content. We were really very happy with the kind of content that we started with, and we were continuing to do it since past 2 years. So we started in 2016, and we were continuing with restaurant reviews and posting
Mm,
our reviews about different restaurants in Mumbai, about the food they used to serve, and even even a bit of street food that we had started back then. But it was, I think, back in 2017, late 2017, that we decided to experiment with our content. So on one fine day, it was, I think, a rainy day, and my mom decided to fry some snacks up, and I happened to shoot the video and put it on my blog. And that video got a huge attention from my followers. It is then that I realized that I should not stick to a particular type of content and keep experimenting with it. So for a year past that, I experimented with my content around recipes, around street food, around creating street food in at home itself. So a lot of things around recipes itself. It is so experimentation and doing research for around a year. It got me then that it is very important to experiment with your content, and only then will you know that what your followers really want. So after experimenting for so long, I got to know that people expect a lot of recipes from me, a lot of authentic Rajasthani and Gujarati recipes from me specifically, because that is what they have followed me for. And if I don't match the expectations, they'll simply unfollow me, and that's not what I'm here for.
Okay.
So that is how I decided that my niche is right now to curate recipes around regional cuisines.
Mhm. So, one important thing that I personally, as a third person, have seen it in your account is that I remember obviously when we first contacted each other, 2017-18. At that time, you had around 12,000, 14,000 followers. I don't remember the exact number, but today you have, like, within a year or two, you have grown into, like, how many, 30k, 33k, right?
Yeah.
So how did you how much of a credit you give to the content, how much of the credit you give to the experimentation part or the trying new part of your entire journey? Do you feel that changing it was the primary or pivotal factor in growing up your followers? And what has changed? That's what I want to know. What has changed from restaurant reviews and food and all of that to now, when you are creating your own content, you are creating your own recipes? Obviously you are deriving it from different people, you are changing it up as per your like and taste and everything. How much do you weigh both these scenarios? How much is the difference in your case?
So I think if I have to compartmentalize my growth on social media platforms,
Mm-hmm.
after I understood what my niche is, I have truly believed that experimentation is really important and content is the king. So if you have to really grow on social media, you have to post quality content and consistent content. So that
Correct.
is when I decided that no matter what you put, no matter how much effort you put in to post any content, but if the audience is not relating to it, if the audience does not feel that they
Right.
can share it with someone or recreate it at home, they won't like it, they won't follow you.
Correct.
That is when it struck me that what I should definitely put my efforts in is to create quality content. So it is then when I found out my niche, I decided that I should be putting a lot of efforts into brainstorming what my content should be and how should I portray it in front of others and how should my followers see it so that it is easy for them to recreate it and to feel relatable to it. It should be as authentic as possible, because I don't think people really wanted to see fancy stuff from restaurants again and again and on a daily basis on my feed, because no one
Correct.
really goes to a fancy restaurant every day. And
Correct.
everyone wants to recreate at home. Like, you won't expect me to put a sushi photo on Tuesday and then again put a noodles photo on Wednesday and expect people to like it, because they really don't like Asian food and they really won't be able to create it at home. They won't be able to make
Correct.
sushi at home. So they
Correct.
really want recipes that they can create. So that is when I realized that I should be creating relatable and shareable content, and content is really the king for you to grow on social media platforms.
Perfect, perfect. So I would like, the next question is obviously the very logical question that is coming here. How do you manage to make content that is going viral? Like, how are you making this Insta-worthy content?
I'm I don't have a strict, I mean, there's no strict rule to follow to make anything viral, but I think I have seen this even while experimenting with my niche. Like, in my niche itself, if I experiment. So for example, if I say that my niche is regional and authentic cuisine recipes, even in those, if I experiment with those recipes, I have seen that people relate a lot of things to very basic stuff, but
Right.
if you tweak it a bit, yeah.
Correct.
But if but if you so it's a fancy version of a basic recipe. So if you say that I am making puran poli, so everyone knows what puran poli is. But if
Correct.
I say that I am making a puran poli using some fruit, for example. So
Right.
that will, that will really lure for your followers into seeing that content, and then trying, like making them feel to really try it at home.
Right.
So to make your content really viral, I think you should first decide and brainstorm what you want to share with your followers,
Correct.
and then you should also think how you can experiment with that content and how you can tweak it a bit so that it does not look very general.
Right. So
And we
little
should
bit
not
of
just think,
a change of perspective, I would say. Just change your
yeah,
perspective
yeah,
slightly so
change
that
your
people won't
perspective.
find
And
it very different also, and they'll find it interesting also.
yeah, and I think we should not just see for positive perspective here, because there are people who just see like, I'm just giving an example because there are people who might think it, who eats fruit potan poli, come on, I am not going to try this and all.
Correct. Correct.
But I think you should always give it a try, because even though there are people who will, criticize you, that's like negative attention is also attention.
Correct.
You are still getting, yeah, so criticism is also good for you, so you will get to know that what people really want and what it is good for you to experiment with. So I think both the results equally matter to you, so it's
Yeah,
very
so
easy
sometimes,
to,
having an outrageous recipe also really works in getting eyeballs on your profile, right?
yeah.
Okay. So talking about content, I would like to know what all important things you keep in mind today when you're creating content, and what all things that you intentionally avoid. Like you don't do those, especially after like 4 years of your entire blogging experience. So starting from the restaurant reviews to today, when you're creating your own recipes, you are working on, you do everything in your on your content, right? So what all do's and don'ts you follow?
Yeah, I think the first. So I think let's start with the do's. So the first do that I always keep in mind is that I make sure that the recipe is super easy. So my content is super easy to relate to recreate. So I don't, I see it from a third, like I always show my content to a third person. So my third person will always be my brother or my sister-in-law, who is not involved in the whole content creating process. So I
Correct. He's like
always
the
show them
normal
the
person,
content.
layman.
Yeah, yeah. So I always show them my content, and I tell them, okay, if at all you were to follow me and if you see my content, will you think that it's easy to recreate, or will you at least share it with someone who might make it for you? So
Correct.
I just ask these questions to them. So I get a quick response, yeah, like this particular content is relatable. So so I think the first do that I always make sure about my content is to ask my audience, to ask people whether this particular idea is good or not, and whether they would be okay to like it or share it or recreate it at their end.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. And the first, I think I also keep in mind that I don't, you know, create something that is very lengthy and that requires a lot of effort for people to recreate. So something like the other day, I posted a recipe of a Maharashtrian slash Gujarati dish called aloo vadi or
Patra.
patra. Yeah.
Correct.
So that requires a lot of like preparation phase, because it requires a lot of cleaning and
Correct.
of cleaning of the
Lot of
leaves and all
efforts
that.
involved.
Yeah, a lot
Correct.
of effort. So I still posted that recipe, but I wanted people's perspective on how they want to see it. So I did not, included my content, included the preparation part as part of my content. So I just shared the main recipe of how to, form the
Roll it and
how to
fry
make
it
it.
and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I just make sure. So that is how you should keep in mind that if you are a third person and if you want to recreate it, you cannot see this big of a content on a recipe which is like so fast to eat, but it's very difficult to prepare. So it's like 2 घंटा लग गया बनाने को and खाने को 5 मिनट भी नहीं लगा. Like no one wants that. So
Correct.
people don't want to see such big, like such lengthy content. So people want easy content to create. So I think that these are the two things that I keep in mind always, that I should ask my audience whether this is a good idea to put and to share, and then secondly that I should not be creating lengthy content with which people might not relate to.
Correct.
Yeah.
And what are the things that you avoid? Like you try to make sure that these are the things that you are not including in your content.
So I think I have learned this recently, that I should not make people go through a lot of steps to get to the end result or the end full recipe. So earlier I used to make people go to my blog and then search for my recipe and then find the whole recipe there.
Right.
So my main video was on Instagram, and I used to gauge my at all the attention from my Instagram to my blog because that's my primary focus. So now
Correct.
what I have started doing is, so what I have started doing is I just share the recipe on Instagram. I just share the video on Instagram along with the ingredient subtitles. So
Mm-hmm.
if people want to save or share it, they can easily save and share it.
Perfect.
At the same time, I make sure that that particular recipe is also up on my blog, and that is the recent recipe, so that people
Correct.
don't have to search for it. So that's the first thing that they see when they hit up my blog link.
Correct. Extremely important, so that you basically are reducing the number of steps that are involved in the entire customer journey from your social media to your blog. A great point.
Exactly.
Great point.
Yeah, and I also make sure that I am using other platforms so that people directly access my recipe. So I just put up a final dish photo and ask people to swipe up and just redirect them to my blog instead of redirecting them to my video, because that doesn't make sense, because I always want my customers, like my followers, to go to my blog. So that's how I make sure
Perfect.
that all my content is in sync. So I am reducing the steps here so that people don't have to follow a lot of steps. So that's one thing that I definitely follow. And the second thing is that I make sure that people, I use all the surfaces of a particular social media platform so that people get to see what's my today's content.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
I don't want but I also make sure that I don't want to bombard people with a lot of, like, with my face all over the time. Like, I don't want to, like, whenever they open a particular app,
Right.
I don't want my content to be flashing up now and then so that they get irritated
Yeah,
and
that would be a
unfollow me.
great spamming ad.
Yeah, so I don't want to spam them. So what I do is I just I'm sorry. So, so what I do is I just make sure that I'm not posting too much, and I keep some gap between alternate content, like a gap of say 5 to 6 hours between alternate content and a gap of 1 hour between each story, so that people don't think that I'm posting too much and they get irritated. So I
Right.
keep
And they
make
get
sure.
some time to at least consume the content that you have already produced.
True. Yeah.
Okay. So, right now, when we are talking about a lot of content, right now, when we are talking about different platforms, I want to know, where do you get your inspiration from? So, whenever you are creating any kind of content, where do you get your inspiration for creating this content?
So my primary inspiration has always been and will always be my mom. So my mom consumes social media data like no one else. So she uses YouTube, she uses Instagram, she uses Facebook, and she watches videos on all these three platforms.
She used to
And
watch TikTok.
no, thankfully not.
Lucky.
So so she watches these these videos, and not specifically recipes, but she also she has also subscribed to channels that gives you kitchen tips or gardening tips and all those. So
Right.
she always gives me ideas that you should do this, you should try this, we can make something out of this, we should reuse this, we should invent something new. So she has always been my key inspiration. Secondly, I am also following two really good and already renowned channels. One is Hebar's Kitchen, if you know. So this is a really good platform where they share recipes on their blog primarily, and then on Instagram. So I think I relate a lot of, like, I relate to them a lot because their body of work is similar to mine. So,
Okay.
but obviously they are renowned and they experiment a lot and they have already established their name in the business. But I think I get a lot of inspiration from them because they share very basic and authentic recipes all on all the social media platforms, and it inspires me to try the same way and reach somewhere. I mean, obviously. So I think these two, like my mom and that particular page, inspires me a lot, like a lot. And I think people should also look for inspiration in the medium that you're using. So social media itself inspires you so much. So if you see that a particular thing is trending, you should see why that particular thing is trending. You should do a lot of research whether how you can contribute to that particular trend.
Correct.
After you brainstorm how you can contribute to that particular trend, you will definitely come to know how you can create your content that is related to your niche, and then share it with your followers.
Correct. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Um, So Anshay, with all these platforms, the Good Food Pact being on YouTube now, it's there on a blog, it's already there on Instagram and Facebook. So what is your way forward?
Yep, I think my short-term goal is to monetize YouTube and my blog, because I have recently started on YouTube, and I have seen a lot of my audience already being habituated to my content and my daily posts on my blog. So I
Okay,
think this is the right time to monetize my blog and let brands know that I am available here for collaborations. The
correct.
second thing that I really want, but that's my long-term goal, is to build an app saying the Good Food Pact, where where people get everything under one roof, and build a
Okay,
community so that people can share recipes there mutually, and you know it will be very helpful for them to get shareable content. So I think these are two of my main goals for now:
great.
monetization and app building. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so with that, we have reached to the end of this the conversation. The last thing that I want you to tell my followers or anybody who is into food blogging or any kind of food business or any kind of content creation business, um, any tips that you want to give to your fellow food bloggers or digital content creators, anything that you want to share with them, the tips or something that you have learned from your 5 years of experience in the blogging industry.
I can give a lot of tips. I think that would require another 30-minute session. But I think one primary tip would be quality over quantity. I think we have discussed this, Rahul, a lot of times in other sessions, that
Yeah,
it is very important to focus on the quality of content that you are posting rather
correct,
than the amount of time that you are posting that particular content.
correct.
So, and also that you don't need high fundu equipments to create content. It's very easy
Yeah,
to use basic gadgets, your phone, and everything that you have at your home. You can use it. You can use your resources optimally, like I have always been saying, and
right,
just make sure that the quality of content is good, because content is king after all. So
correct.
yeah, I think that's the key takeaway from my 5 years journey.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Anshay, for coming here and sharing a lot of important information and tips to my viewers. And I wish you all the best for your entire journey of the Good Food Pact. As you said, I'm really hoping to see you monetize your blog, your YouTube channel, everything. And apart from that, I also want to see your app where you're sharing your recipes and taking Indian, Rajasthani, Marwadi, Gujarati recipes across the globe. All the best to you, and thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you, Rahul. Same to you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I hope you have found this entire conversation extremely valuable. If yes, head over to rahuldevko.com and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, tell me what is that one action that you're going to take today. While you are on my website, subscribe to my email newsletter so that I can keep you updated about new episodes that are coming on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in.